Alrighty. Let me see. How are we doing?
I don't know. On Karen B, you mean?
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna pin this video again.
55 do-over?
Yeah. This trash. This.
Alright. I hear the music and my voice.
Yeah. We're not muted. Because I was just, let me just switch over to the main screen already. I just wanted to make sure it was going and then we could just get going right away because I'm not going to put everybody through the intro again. We should be going now. So,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
Welcome back. Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties.
Starting over! Due to technical issues, we are starting over on Chapter 18.
Yeah.
Of Anti-Religious Scripture Study with Karen B. and Just Jack Flat Earth. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Oh, YouTube wants to buffer again.
I say let's just go with it and see who recorded what, and then we can pull the best video. I think that's just how it's going to be today.
I'm going to record it on my end too. Just in case.
Good deal.
Wow, how frustrating. Everything's buffering. Literally everything's buffering again. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Excuse me.
This is atypical. This is atypical because typically I'm the one with speed issues. So.
But there shouldn't be any issue. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand what the problem is. Because I just streamed the other night with no issues. And I haven't changed anything. That's what I don't get. So, I don't know.
Well, we can catch people up. Or do you want to just, like, you want to just continue from where we are, or are we junking the old recordings?
What do you think? Should we start over?
I think we should start over. Yeah,
we should probably just start over. God, what a pain.
And then we can clip off, and then we can clip off all this conversation of whether or not to start over later.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, anyway, if the stream craps out this time, I'm not going to restart it again.
And you are recording?
But I am recording, and I'll just upload the recording later.
All right.
All right. Okay, Exodus 18:1. And Yitro, the priest of Midian, Moshe's father-in-law, heard of all that Elohim had done for Moshe and Yisrael, his people, that Yehovah had brought Israel out of Mitzrayim.
And Yitro is a priest of Midian, which I thought that the priest of Midian was a different religion, but as a descendant of Abraham, he is a priest of Yehovah.
Okay. So just to clear up what that means, priest of Midian, it's not a mystery
Yep.
religion.
Correct.
And Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, took Zipporah, the wife of Moshe, after he had sent her back. And her...
sent her back is when he went to Egypt to deliver the Israelites, and he sent his wife and currently single son back to her father-in-law's house.
Mm-hmm. And her 2 sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he said, I have been a sojourner in a foreign land. And the name of the other was Eliezer, for he said, the Elohim of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh.
And this is a son that he's meeting for the first time, which means that Zipporah must have been pregnant when he sent her away, because now he has 2 sons.
Right. And is the son talking?
No. So a name is typically based...
For he said, the Elohim of my father was my help and delivered me. So who said that? Gershom said that? And her 2 sons, of whom the name of... Who's talking?
No. All right, so if you look at the translation, it says, the name of the one, Eliezer, because Elohim of my father, da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
There is no he said there.
Yeah, but there's quote marks. That's
I
as if
know.
someone's talking.
Right. So if I said he was called Jack because he was to make right ruling and judgment, it's just the definition of the name. It also did the same thing for Gershom. For he said, no, there's no he said. It's the definition of the name. His name is the statement, I've been a sojourner in a foreign land.
Oh, okay.
Right? So Eliezer means the Elohim of my father was my help. So
okay, so it's telling you the definition.
Yeah, so if you look at the one that would have named him would be Zipporah. And she would have said, well, your name is Eliezer because the Elohim of your father was your help. And he delivered, me from the sword of Pharaoh. That's obviously talking about Moshe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's telling him the cause of his name in that incident, but it's not laid out like that in the Hebrew. It just said because he was called Eliezer because Elohim fathers in help, and he deliver from the sword of Pharaoh. Right?
Okay. Got it.
All right.
Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moshe in the wilderness, where he was encamped at the mountain of Elohim.
The mountain of Elohim is, referred to as Mount Sinai. The mountain of Elohim was also quoted when he saw the burning bush, when he was living with his father-in-law, Yitro. So he made a full circle. He left there, got the children of Israel and the mixed multitude, and came back to the location where he heard from Yehovah on the mountain of Elohim, aka Sinai.
All right. And he said,
which today it's called Jebel Al-Lawz, but that's
right.
Jumping ahead to modern times. Yep.
Yeah. And he had said to Moshe, I, your father-in-law Yitro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. And Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him, and they asked each other about their welfare, and they went into the tent. And Moshe told his father-in-law all that Yehovah had done to Pharaoh and to the Mitzrites for Yisrael's sake, all the hardship that had come upon them on the way, and how Yehovah had delivered them.
So he's talking about all the plagues that happened, crossing the Red Sea, the people complaining about drink, the people complaining about food, and how the Creator had constantly provided for them in the wilderness.
Yeah. And Yitro rejoiced for all the good which Yehovah had done for Yisrael, whom he had delivered out of the land of the Mitzrites.
Out of the hand of the Mitzrites.
Out of the hand of the Mitzrites.
Okay, yep.
And Yitro said, Blessed be Yehovah, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrites and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Mitzrites. Now I know that Yehovah is greater than all the mighty ones, indeed, in the matter in which they acted proudly above them.
So, mighty ones is, of course, Elohim.
Right.
So, this is Elohim speaking of not the collective creator.
Mm-hmm.
This is speaking of those who are the opposite. Like, these are the ones who men have created to reject the creator and create their own deities. And it says they act. Sorry about that. I tapped the mute button. So it says, in which they acted proudly above them. So the acting proudly is like, the people hold these deities that they've created to a higher level than the creator, and all the plagues were specifically targeting the different deities that they worshipped. Like, they worshipped the Nile, and then the Nile was cursed, and they worshipped the flies, and the flies were overtaking them, and they worshipped the frogs, and so on and so forth. And the last one is Pharaoh being worshipped, and then his son was taken out, right? So, like, all these people who are highly elevated within their eyes were brought low in, Yah dealing with them.
Mm-hmm. Then Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, brought an ascending offering and other slaughterings unto Elohim. And
Sacrifices,
yes. And Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moshe before Elohim.
Yep. Yeah, I like sacrifices rather than slaughterings. It's so vulgar.
Yeah, I don't know why they choose to say that.
Yeah.
And it came to be on the next day that Moshe sat to rightly rule the people, and the people stood before Moshe from morning until evening.
Okay, remember, 600,000 male Israelites, not including the females, not including the children, not including the mixed multitude. Moshe is the only one that they believe can communicate with the Creator. Now, I say that they believe because people, I think they limit themselves, and that's what caused this issue. So, he's doing it all by himself with all these people.
And when the father-in-law of Moshe saw all that he did for the people, he said, What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit by yourself, and all the people stand before you from morning until evening?
He's like, this is nuts. Right? Uh-huh. What are you doing?
And Moshe said to his father-in-law, Because the people come to me to seek Elohim. I
would have been like, tell them to seek Elohim.
Yeah.
Anyway.
When they have a matter, they come to me, and I rightly rule between one and another, and make known the laws of Elohim and his Torah.
Torot, which is plural of Torah.
Torot, plural of Torah. Torot.
Yep.
And the father-in-law of Moshe said to him, What you are doing is not good.
Not functional, right?
Right. Both you and these people, and you shall certainly wear yourselves out, for the matter is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it by yourself.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it says you're not able to do it to separate. Like you're separate from everybody else. Mm-hmm. Not a good idea.
Now listen to my voice. Let me counsel you, and Elohim be with you. Stand before Elohim for the people, and you shall bring the matters to Elohim. And you shall
so he's not. Yeah. So he's not individually talking. He's saying you shouldn't individually talk to each individual person about their matters. Go to the Creator, right? Go to Elohim, and let him just bust out all the answers, so you don't have to do all the work of going back and forth between the people and the Creator.
Right. And you shall enlighten them concerning the laws of the Torot, and show them the way in which they should walk and work which they do, and the work which they do.
Right, and this word for enlighten, that's a good translation. King James didn't do as well, but enlighten is the Zohar. Some people who have looked into Kabbalah know the Zohar is is the book of the Enlightenment. So this is if you break down the letters, it's the harvest, behold the head. So it's the head beholding, the head having a harvest of beholding. So
Yeah, and then in King James it says teach them ordinances and laws.
yeah, it gets very weakened in the translation.
That's totally different from
And
being enlightened.
and then if you see concerning is italicized, meaning that they,
Uh-huh.
they're letting you know that that was added.
Uh-huh.
Right, so it's actually enlighten action to the inscribes or the customs,
Mm-hmm.
and the set apart assemblies, and action to the Torah plural, and the knowledge to them, action to the way, path, or road to go, in action work that which they do or make.
Hmm. All right. But you yourself seek out from all the people able men who fear Elohim, men of truth, hating unfair gain, and place these over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens.
And this ruler is, you got to look at the translation. It's a little bit different. There's different titles for rulers. But also, instead of seek out, which there is a word for seek, but it's actually envision. So if you have envisioning of who should be, like, in other words, he wants them to be inspired vision, not actually look around.
And they shall rightly rule the people at all times, and it shall be that they bring every great matter to you, but they themselves rightly rule every small matter. So make it lighter for yourself, or they shall bear with you. For they shall bear with you.
Yeah, and it's a lifting of the burden.
Yeah.
And by the way, lift is like, this is the root of NASA, to lift up and to deceive,
Mm-hmm.
This is that same root.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Lift burden.
Lift burden.
Yep.
If you do this word, and Elohim shall command you, then you shall be able to stand, and all these people also go to their place in peace.
Yeah, so you just give them the list, and then they'll just know how they're supposed to respond in certain situations. Now, this does happen, right? We're not to Sinai yet. In a little while, he'll actually write it down. At this current time, he's getting the people's complaints, then going to a tent to meditate or pray or whatever you want to call it, to contact the Creator, to get an answer to all these judgments. And he's like, why don't you just, like, take some time, get away from the people, get in touch with Elohim, see how he judges all matters of the people, and then you tell, this leader of this larger group, and then within that they'll have a leader of a smaller group, and then that way it can be more organized so all the burden doesn't fall on you.
Right. Okay. And Moshe listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he said. And Moshe chose able men out of all Israel and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens.
Yep.
And they rightly ruled the people at all times. The hard matters they brought to Moshe, but they rightly ruled every small matter themselves.
Makes sense.
And Moshe sent off his father-in-law, and he went away to his own land.
And sending him away to his own land is, maybe a few days' journey, not exponentially long, because, again, he was living at Yitro's house, and that's where he found the mountain of Elohim. That's where he saw the burning bush. That's where he was sent to get Yisrael, and now he's returned. So it's not like, okay, go back home hundreds of miles away. It's nothing like that. It's, it's a short journey. A day, probably, I would assume. So, yeah, that's, tomorrow, excuse my error. Next time, we're going to get into what I think is the 10 words rather than the 10 commandments. That's coming next chapter.
Okay, awesome.
So that'll be interesting. Yeah. All right, I'm going to do a quick scan of the chat, even though it's the 5th chat we started because of rebooting. Technology sucks. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those of you who don't multi-stream have no idea. Yeah.
I'm not even sure an alert went out for this last one. It should have, but I don't know.
The Old Testament is a poorly translated version of the Torah. King James wasn't even Jewish. Yeah, Morningstar, it's worse than that, because the King James version was actually translated out of a version, which is the Latin Vulgate was the origin for translating the King James version. So Latin wasn't, definitely not the language that the scriptures was originally written in. Okay. All right. I'm glad you're still here. Appreciate y'all. Really.
Yeah, that was.
It was a frustrating morning.
Yeah, it's going fine now. Even though at the first it started giving me warnings again, but then I don't know. It seems like it's been okay.
It worked itself out. Yeah. But I mean, the main focus of this chapter is, number one, he's meeting his son for the first time, Eleazar. His father-in-law came and visited him, and good thing he did, because the way Moshe was doing it was pretty difficult. He was hearing the complaint of every person and then going and bringing that to Elohim, and his father-in-law made a good suggestion. Like, why don't you just go to Elohim, let him inspire you, for lack of a better term, right? Let him download to you is what I would say, right? Mm-hmm. And then, bring it to the heads of families, right? Bring it to those who send someone in charge over 100, and then over a 50, and then over a 10. And then that way the information can be distributed without all the pressure being on one man. And yeah, good idea. And yeah, next week is...
Hold on, there's some in the... Because my Unveiling This Realm chat was going to, so...
Okay.
Aaron James says, if Moshe met his second son after everything, wouldn't his second son be 40 years old or so?
No, because it's not after everything. If you read in the previous chapter, they're a month in. So, and thank you for bringing that up, because it was in the first stream that got cut off.
Yeah.
But yeah, the baby is probably a month old at this point. Now, he does grow up, within those 40 years. By the time that they cross over the Yarden, he's 40 years old, for sure. Mm-hmm. But at the time of the Exodus, he would have, I guess she's pregnant with him. That's my assumption, right? Because she complains about her son, singular, not being circumcised. If he had two sons, she would have been talking about both of his sons. But there was only one mention. We can go there, actually. It's Exodus 14.
Exodus 14.
Oh, maybe it wasn't 14. Ugh.
Was that it? There was another part of it, I thought. No?
I'm looking real quick here. I'm doing a quick search.
Oh, then Aaron says, okay, that answers my second question. Okay. All right.
Cool. Oh, sorry, not 14. 4. I'm so stupid. Excuse me, folks. I remembered the 4, but I added a 1 in front of it. All right, go to 4. Okay. At 4:24, it says that Jehovah had went to meet Moshe to kill him. This is after he's sending him to go out. So if you can preface this, I would assume that he's being rebellious about the circumcision, right? Mm-hmm. Because the next verse it says, it came to be on the way in the lodging place that Jehovah met him and sought to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and threw it at his feet and says, you are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. 426. And so he let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So obviously it's about the circumcision. Then he said, you are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. And Jehovah said to Aharon, go meet Moshe in the wilderness, because Aharon was going to be the prophet as Moshe was the Elohim.
Yeah.
And he went and met him on the mountain of Elohim. Again, the mountain of Elohim. So this, I still believe, is Sinai.
Mm-hmm.
Sinai. And he kissed him. And yeah, I don't want to read the whole chapter, but
right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a singular son here. And if you look for the name of Eleazar, and if you go to KJV Plus or HSBR or any of those, and you right click and do a search for Eleazar, the first location for it to show up as the son of Moshe is Exodus 18:4. There was another Eleazar of Damascus, but this is, we're in Exodus. So there's no mention of Eleazar until this point.
Okay.
So not back in chapter 4, but here we are in chapter 18. And we know that he was in Egypt for a while. We don't know the exact time, but the currency of the plagues. And then in chapter 16, yes, in chapter 16 it says they were there between Elim and Sinai on the 15th day of the second month, which means they were a month into travel. Verse 16:1.
16:1. Okay.
15th day, second month.
Yes.
So they were a month into the travel. So there you go.
Awesome.
Okay, so yep, I guess that's.
I can hear Shemaiah singing.
Hold on one second.
Shemaiah's having.
That's my daughter Shemaiah
Showtime.
Singing. Yes. I often tell her, I often have to tell her, okay, go outside and sing to the trees, because
it's so cute.
She's got a cute little voice, but when it's going for hours and hours and hours, you kind of want to break.
Okay. Alrighty.
So yeah, this is just a month out of Egypt. Maybe it's a month and a few days now. I don't know. I know that by the time of the next chapter, it's 3 months in. Okay.
Okay.
So it's between 2 and 3 months. This event.
Yeah. All right.
Out of,
okay.
or sorry, between 1 and 3 months. Sorry.
Okay. So from the UTR chat, is circumcision one of the reasons Moshe was not allowed into the Promised Land?
No. That is an event that will come up where he was instructed to strike the rock on this event, but later on he was commanded to declare to the rock, but he got frustrated with the people and struck the rock. And because of not following the Creator's instructions, because of his frustration, because, that's when he was told that he would not enter into the new kingdom. So...
All right.
That comes later, though. But yeah, and some speculate, and I'm just going to throw this out there because I've heard it before. Some speculate that the rock was representative of Messiah, and that Messiah should have been declared and not struck. So that's a going theory in the philosophy of that whole event. Anyway. So if y'all are wondering, what we were talking about, like, if you look up the real Mount Sinai and look up Jebel al-Lawz, like, you can see there's this valley of a rock that has water erosion that came from nowhere. You can see a standing tree, a lone tree in the middle of this desert. You can see 12 pillars that were knocked down for the 12 tribes. You can see corrals of where they would corral the animals to be sacrificed. You can see stone slabs that have Egyptian cow gods carved into the side of these slabs when it was in Arabia, where they had no business with anything to do with Egyptian cow gods. So it's very interesting. Like the real Mount Sinai, there's a lot of evidence to prove that it's been found. And it was illegal for a long time to even go and check it out for yourself. But now they're doing tours there. So I'm interested. I must say, I'm very interested. So, like when Karen looked it up and she's like, "Oh, there's a tour there." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Because the last I heard, I started looking into this back in 2012. And back then it was, armored, guarded, and anybody that was found there, they thought that they were, Jewish spies or whatever. It was a whole ordeal.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, there you go. There's some interesting information. And then, like I said, in Patterns of Evidence, the Exodus, they show you how Egyptology has an already agreed upon timeline. And if you take out one of the gaps, which, just like the Dark Ages gaps, right? Mm-hmm. If you take out one of those gaps of the Egyptian timeline, everything in the Egyptian timeline, the biblical timeline, and the surrounding cultures timeline, everything lines up like perfectly. Like the mass destruction of cities in a short period of time where Joshua was taking over the cities, a mass exodus out of Egypt after plagues that were recorded. But you have to convince yourself that this is not Israel leaving Egypt. That's what they say about it. It is written as a history, but you must convince yourself. Anyway.
All right.
So next week, get ready, folks. 10 words. It's coming.
All right, yeah, we're going to go over the 10 words. Awesome.
All right.
10
Take
commandments.
Care.
All right. Thanks, y'all, for being here.
No 10 commandments.
Not commandments?
No 10 commandments. That's it.
Right.
That's what it's all about. No 10 commandments.
But you're saying 10 words, but just for most people might know it as 10 commandments.
Yes. That which is known as 10 commandments, I'm going to show you that it's actually 10 words. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. That'll be interesting. All right. Yes. Thanks, everybody, for being here and sticking through all of our technical issues. Hopefully next week we won't have that much of a problem. My goodness.
I hope so.
I know. All right.
Shalom, y'all.
Shabbat shalom, y'all. Have a good day, a restful day. All right.
Indeed. Bye-bye.
Bye.